want to move POV sports. My vision is just to move it into the next round with analytics and just giving you different sports that people don't talk about.
Don't nobody come to your house and try to take food off your plate. No. Fall out on 3. 1, 2, 3. Fall out. 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 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. Bring it down.
It's Show's Radio Live. The POV Sports Show.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to another recording of the POV Sports Show here on It'sYourMedia.com, It'sYourRadioLive.com. I want to thank the producer here for the forum again, Donio Phoenix, and we want to welcome you to another wonderful sports show that we're going to touch a bevy of topics on today. And want to welcome our special guest, Jermaine Murray. He was on a couple of weeks ago. Want to welcome him back into the fold. And phone lines are open as well for anyone that want to call in. We are taking calls today, so we're going to discuss a few topics, and then you can call in and give your opinion, your point of view, what you think, and even ask us questions if you feel like something that you want to know that you think we may know that you haven't gotten clear clarification on. So I wanted to jump right in and go to, the biggest story of the weekend thus far has been the Colin Kaepernick deciding that he doesn't want to stand up for the national anthem anymore. A lot of people don't know he didn't stand up last week either. He had on street clothes, so nobody paid attention to it. This week he had on the uniform, so the attention was brought more this week than it was the previous week against Houston. So I was just wondering, some things that were said concerning it, where he said that he feels like, he shouldn't be standing up for, a flag that, in a country where people are being oppressed. And he made the comments that he has a problem standing up for something like that when you see people dying every day and the people that are doing the killings on paid leave for murder, and then they back at work. And he said he's just sick of seeing it. He's a biracial guy, as a matter of fact, as well. And he was just saying that he just thinks that when the flag goes up, it should be. He made a comment also that when the guys that are doing a lot of, the killings, the police, have flags on their uniforms as well. So he's just like, what am I standing up and respecting that for? And I take it back to the Ali days when Ali, stood up for and didn't go because he said he wasn't going to fight for a country that oppresses people, and mainly minorities that they oppress. So that's one of the first topics we're going to touch today, and just wanted to see what you guys thought on, what your opinions were on that. And we had Victor Cruz took an angle this morning on it and said things about he understands that's his opinion on. He's his own man. That's what he chooses to do. But being a part of a team, he should be out there with his brothers respecting the anthem. So that's his take. The head coach of the 49ers, Chip Kelly, said, hey, we respect his opinion, and we have no problem with it. If that's what he chooses to do, we're going to support him. That's what he chooses to do. And, I don't know if you guys remember Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, because of his Islam roots, didn't stand up for the flag's national anthem either when he was with the Denver Nuggets, formerly Chris Jackson. So just want to get your thoughts, Jermaine, and, even Dondre, if you want to jump in on what you guys think of the situation and what is going to come out of it. Me, personally, one more thing. I don't have any problem with him doing it. That's fine. But I want him to pull a Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, CP3. Don't just do that now. Go into the communities and make the next step of helping and being an activist as to why you're, we know why you're doing it now. Take the steps necessary to maybe even help fix some things. So that's just my point of view coming from me. So what you guys think?
Yes, I agree with your point, definitely, D. I mean, now that you put it out there, it's definitely time to take that next step and not just let this be the end. But me personally, I see a lot on TV throughout the weeks and months that, I agree with Kat, man. It's definitely a sad place in the world right now where we're seeing our own kind getting murdered and treated unfairly by the same people who's supposed to protect and serve us. And if that's his way of shining a little light on it, then I'm with him 100%, man. Because it's sad to see. It's really sad, and it's hurtful to see that, again, like the people who're supposed to be protecting and serving us, and we're supposed to look at as that, treating us the way that they're treating us. So I'm on board with Kat. But again, I totally agree, D. Let's take it a step further. Let's not just sit down for the national anthem and let that be it. Let's go to that next step and really jump in here first with this thing. So if that's what he's gonna do, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, this is something I definitely had to chime in on. It's great to see Cap stepping forward and making a stand. In this case, sitting down. But it's great to see because, especially him being a young guy, a part of this younger generation. It's great to see the fact that he's making a stand, so to speak, on an issue that he feels dearly about, knowing there's going to be backlash, possibly even endorsement deals being snatched, or future endorsement deals taken off the table because of this. I mean, for making this stand, he could stand to lose a lot because of it. He's in a position where he's sitting high on the hill, so he could turn his back on everyone and just live his life. Mm-hmm. But instead, he's taking a chance, a huge chance, by speaking out on something that he feels dear about. And like Dee said, okay, you're making this stand, and what are you going to do as far as helping out in the community? Now, we don't know. Maybe he already is, because everyone doesn't document and scream out that they're doing different things in the community, in the neighborhoods and whatnot. So it's possible that he's already doing it. But that's, that's not for us to, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if he is, that's great. If not, I hope that he would begin to, do those things, be active in the community. But the thing back to flag, for me, it's much deeper, because this is something that's from the time we've come over here. Our ancestors has come here. We've been the oppressed, and for those who stand and align themselves with the flag, because when you standing and pledging for the flag, this is my and I feel, Cap, I'm going to be a little long-winded with this because this is something that I haven't stood in over 15 years. I've gone to several sporting events, high school, college, pro, and I don't recognize the flag because I know what the flag stands for. This flag is no different than the Confederate flag, and actually it's worse, because at least with the Confederate flag, you know what you're getting, you know what it stands for. Yeah. The flag that we see, like you said, the police officers have them in their uniforms. We see them at the schools. We see them all over people's homes. And that flag is, I've heard people say that Kaepernick is being hypocritical because he's making a stand, but yet he's made millions off of this country. Well, the flag in itself is hypocritical because it stands for one thing, but we as blacks are treated in an entirely different way in which that flag's supposed to represent. So that's the thing that he's talking about. So it's not so much just about the cops. It's not so much about the killings, the cops perpetrating against us in the communities. It goes into, it's an institutional ideology and an institutional system that we're dealing with, a white supremacist system that we're dealing with. We're talking about education. We're talking about finances, in the financial industry, the economy, from top to bottom. And, people talk about racism and pulling a race card and all this. The bottom line is this country was built on racism, and it established itself off of racism. It continues to thrive off of racism every day. We can't get around it. As much as we try to sweep it under the rug and pretend it doesn't exist, we cannot get around it. It is what it is. So until we actually deal with it, deal with that reality, let's first of all, let's talk about it, and then let's plan. We have to put things in motion. So like Dee said, earlier, we have to be more active. We have to do more things. We have to participate in this process, because until that, it's not going to change. look, when we go to fill out an application, a job application, what's on that application? They ask us to recognize what race we are.
Yep.
So until they eliminate that from applications, that's a great start to deal with. Okay, because people who say, well, I believe in a colorblind society. I'm color. Well, if you're colorblind, that means you're fooling yourself because race is what it is. They take statistics on race. I'm dealing with every aspect of life. That we're dealing. So there's no way around it. But for us as blacks and for society in general, we have to see something blatant, like a cop killing, one of our people, or a white person calling us a nigger or something like that. It takes stuff like that. That's just like in our face racism, but there's underlying racism, systematic racism that we deal with every day. That we just gotta get used to it and just we deal with it and like, it's no big deal because it's just embedded in our society in every aspect. There's no way around it. So until we deal with that part, so for him, to me, people making a big deal out of him, not standing up for the flag. To me, that's a small thing. The flag is nothing but a material. It's a symbol. It's a symbol of America, or what it's supposed to stand for, and we know what that it doesn't. And it's just a piece of material flag that really is just, people make more. It's like when you're aligning yourself with his ideals, and he doesn't. I get it. I feel the same way. And and until we actually deal with, what it supposed to stand for, and we fight for what it should stand for, then we'll be on the right track. But I'm feeling them, and so now hopefully we can get more people in line with them to do that. People who have a platform like him. You know what I mean? We've seen LeBron, Wade, Chris Paul, those guys, make stand Carmelo. Now we're seeing Kaepernick. So once we start seeing, these guys are, highly recognizable. Kids look up to them, and I think it's a great thing. I think people are starting to wake up now, and now people are starting to wake. Now it's time to put forth action. So, and people talk about a race war and all this rhetoric about that. Look, it's been a race war since the time we set feet on these shores. Our peoples, once our ancestors came there, that's what it became. So, it's just now that we have social media, we have all these forums and these cameras on the phones, and now we're starting to see it more. It's not like it just started. It's been that way. We know that. Being black in America, we know it's been this way, but
it's socially recognizable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Socially recognizable.
But that's my take on it, man. I know I got a little long-winded, but I just felt
that was good stuff.
Believe me, dude, I was sitting here mute, man. I was totally focused on your words, man. That was powerful. I like that one, man. That was a good one, dude.
Yeah. But what Jamel Hill said yesterday? Jamel Hill made a point. I'm gonna throw her point out there. She said it's crazy because we want them to say something, but now he says something. Now here comes the backlash. So you can't win because he said we've been asking for somebody to take a stand. He takes it and then he gets completely obliterated on TV all day the next day, and it's not going away. She said, and the same thing happened with Carmelo because him and Carmelo have both said, and I quote, "If they take away my endorsements from me, I know what I stood up for is right." Both of them said that.
See, yeah,
so,
they
Carmelo,
know that.
Yes, he got in Carmelo's back pocket and followed Carmelo with the endorsements. I heard other guys like Wade Brown and CP3 talk, but they didn't say nothing about endorsements. Those two were the two that mentioned, take my endorsements, I don't care type stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's what Jamel Hill brought a good point up yesterday. And he said, I quote Kaepernick, he said this too. I read this yesterday, and I wanted to make sure I put this on the show. He said, I thought about doing this last year, courtesy of the Tamir Rice, the Trayvon Martin situation, all the ones before this year. He said, I didn't do it because I had discussed it with my adopted parents who are one is white, one is black, have raised him. So, he said, I discussed this feelings with my family, and after months of witnessing some of the civil unrest in the U.S., decided to be more active and more involved in rights for black people. Kaepernick, who was biracial, was adopted by white parents, by white parents who adopted him when he was 7 years old. He also went on to say, I know this will not sit well with a lot of people, including the 49ers. He said he did not inform the club or anyone affiliated with the team of his intentions to protest the anthem. He just said, I'm going to do it, and if I have to deal with the backlash, I'll deal with it. He said he's just sick of seeing guys killing people and being paid to go home and then get their job back 6 weeks later. And the person that they killed is gone, and the family got to pick up the pieces, and it's nothing more to it. That's crazy. And he Roland Martin even touched it even further. He put up a lot of posts last night. I mean, I told Andre Jermaine I was going to look at a lot of stuff so I can have different stuff to quote to put on the show. And I read some of his stuff, and he put things about Colin Kaepernick is doing this because you killed my guy down in Louisiana over loose cigarettes. You know what I mean? You got Castro in the car just over nothing. And he put up quotes like that all night on his page, and I kept looking at him saying, I'll just shoot some of those off today when we do the show because that was good stuff. So I just try to touch everything when I looked at it. So that's what I got from it.
That's good stuff. Wait, we have a couple of callers on.
Yes, sir. I'm on. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great.
Yep.
My name is Greg.
Okay. Good. Yeah, your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, Greg. How you doing, man?
Good. My name is Greg from Forestville, Maryland, and I've been listening, I guess, over the last a few hours this morning, hearing some of the backlash. And my challenge with this whole situation is not necessarily with what Colin is doing, because according to the Constitution of the United States of America, you got the right to freedom of speech. And it's just interesting to me that when one of us stands up to use the freedom of speech, now all of a sudden the freedom doesn't seem to be as free.
Yeah,
but you can have other people talk about whatever they want. Just don't let it be something that's going to either uplift or enlighten the black and brown skin population. You can have Jewish folks talk about the Holocaust all day long, and nobody ever says anything.
Yes.
Nobody. But you have somebody that stands up for something that has meaning to the African-American community, or should I say black and brown community, because Latinos as well, and now all of a sudden it's a problem. That part, for me, I don't get. And if he never, ever stands up for the national anthem again, I would not have a problem with it. I wouldn't, because that's his right as an American citizen. He can protest the way that he chooses to protest, and it just so happens that, unfortunately, what he's protesting, unless you have experienced it, seen it in your own family, people talking about, being colorblind, all that foolishness, it's only that you're colorblind when you've not had to live through it or experience it. But everybody that I know that has friends that have either, experienced stuff like that or had it affect their families, it's really difficult to say you're colorblind because color is being thrown in your face every day you wake up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
You know what, that's a great point, man, you made, and I'm with you 100%. But just to piggyback on what you said, as far as when it comes to blacks in particular, who, whenever we mention race, they either turn around and say we're race baiting, pulling the race card, or just simply we're racist because we're bringing up race. But most time, white folks have an issue with us in particular when we talk about race in particular is because we're victims due to the hands of those same white people. So they don't want to hear that. They don't want to accept the fact that we're victims of their system, and they capitalize off of this system in which we're victims of. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, a rapist, they don't want to keep hearing the fact that they're rapists. They want to sweep it under the rug, and they clean their life up, and they turn it around, and they never admit it to it. But I'm trying to get myself, away from that cloud over me of being a rapist or, so and whatever negative it could be. I'm just using that as an extreme example, but they don't want to hear the fact that whatever it is that they did, they don't want to hear that brought up all the time, even if they're still doing it. You know what I mean? So I think that's what, why I don't. That's one reason. And then two, because like you mentioned earlier, the fact that they don't live in our shoes, they don't go through what we go through, they never went through what we went through, so they don't understand it because they're in a position of privilege. They're winning off of the system that their ancestors created. Yeah. Off of the
absolutely
the blood, sweat, and tears of our people. You know what I mean? Right. So all we saying, for bottom line, most black people, and y'all know, we good people, man. We try to do the best we can, man. All we want is our piece of the pie, man. Be treated fairly, and that's it. We ain't trying to hurt nobody, man. We're not trying to, you know what I mean? Turn the country upside down, man. Just give us a piece of the pie, man. It's all good,
That's true. And even with that, if you don't mind me jumping back on that, it's funny that when even that type of information is mentioned, why are you burning up your own cities and tearing up your own neighborhoods and all that kind of stuff? But it's funny to me how easily people forget that when it was them who were dissatisfied with conditions that they had, they didn't have a problem with rioting. They didn't have a problem with looting. They didn't have a problem with ripping up ships and dumping tea and doing all this other stuff. They did what they had to do through whatever means was necessary to get their point across. But again, with what you mentioned, that should I say clear privilege that seems to be pervasive in our nation, it's easy to, I have to do whatever I have to do to make sure that my family survives. But if somebody else takes that same tact or that same route, now all of a sudden we have a problem. Earlier, that the system itself, it was based off of, and I just had this conversation the other day. It's kind of getting off a little bit, but if you look at I ask people now, was slavery ever abolished in this country?
No.
That's my question. Was it ever abolished? And the truth is, it never was. And they talk about, slavery was abolished, but the truth is, in 1965, even with the civil rights movement and everything that's going on, if you read the contents of the 13th Amendment, it says that slavery will be abolished except for, and first of all, you can't abolish something and then throw in an except, because that means it wasn't abolished. So what slavery was in this country, it was curtailed. It's not as prevalent as it was, but that except behind that says that you can't be basically forced into slavery or servitude unless you've been convicted of a crime. And now that opens up a whole nother can of worms where look at what's going on with the prison system. Why is it that black and brown men are getting these horribly unjust, long, over abusive sentences for doing the same things that other folks are doing, but somebody might get 6 months, but somebody that's black or brown might get 20 years for it, because they know now that you've been convicted, we can put you back in slavery legally, according to the papers that this country is founded on. But people don't talk about that. So there's so many other underlying issues that, we have to address. And as people won't allow people to make their take their stands or to try and go against the system, all of those things, all they're doing is really giving people the opportunity to, if you really want to be honest, is to let's discuss the problem. But if you can't even let somebody protest without trying to throw them under the bus, the truth is you're not trying to discuss the problem because it's not affecting you, and you're just happy to leave the system status quo.
And that right there, everything that you just mentioned, everything that we just discussed, is all tied into that flag and what it all stands for. And that's why I applaud Cat for what he's doing.
Very good. Fellas, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with the POV Sports Show.
Keep listening to It's Yours Radio Live all season long to win free tickets to see the Washington Wizards play against the NBA's best, like Golden State, Cleveland, LA, Toronto, Minnesota, Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, Houston, and so many more. Monumental Sports and It's Yours Radio Live giving you free tickets to see the Washington Wizards all season long on It's Yours Radio Live.